Hi, my name is Eleanor Tatum, and I'm the publisher and editor-in-chief of the New York Amsterdam News. The coronavirus crisis has brought serious distress to local economies and advertising along with them. The New York Amsterdam News has partnered with the Local Media Association during this unprecedented crisis. Help us continue our important work in chronicling the life of Black New Yorkers, and consider making a donation to the COVID-19 Local News Fund today. Go to givebutter.com/Amsterdam News. Again, that is givebutter.com/Amsterdam News. Thank you and stay safe.
It's Thursday, July 30th, and welcome to the New York Amsterdam News Podcast. I'm Cyril Josh Barker. On this week's episode, AmNews Editor Nayaba Arinde is joining me as we talk with organizers from the upcoming 100 Years in the Whirlwind Conference, commemorating a century since the creation of the Pan-African flag. The conference is set to take place August 14th through 16th. On August 30th, 1920, the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League formally adopted the Pan-African flag, designed by Marcus Garvey, featuring the colors red, black, and green. Kujichagalia Incorporated and United Front are commemorating 100 years since the flag's creation, with a 3-day conference set to take place August 14th through 16th. The event will feature over 20 masterclasses with speakers from around the world discussing a wide range of issues impacting the African diaspora. And AmNews Editor Nayaba Arinde is with me right now to discuss the upcoming 100 Years in the Whirlwind Conference, commemorating a century since the creation of that Pan-African flag. We also have with us some organizers from the event. Welcome to the podcast, everyone. How are you all doing?
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Excellent.
Good.
Doing well.
Thank you so much for being on. Well, first, Nayaba, I definitely want to start with you first. Can you please definitely give us an insight on what's going on at the paper, how we're doing? We're all working so hard to make sure that we're getting it out there, but we definitely want to hear your standpoint on what's going on.
So, from when we first heard about the COVID pandemic, we had to decide how we were going to deal with the paper. We didn't want to be in the environment where people could get sick, so we decided to work remotely from our separate homes, which is all over the city. Some people are even upstate, some people are in Jersey. So we were furnished with the equipment so we could work from home as if we were in the office. So the Amsterdam News never missed a beat. We never missed an edition. We were hard-hitting with reporting with the COVID pandemic from the very beginning. We spoke to people's fears. We spoke to people's resolutions. We spoke to, as a matter of fact, one of the articles that we did, we revealed that the COVID pandemic was really bad in many hospitals in the city, not just in Elmhurst, Queens, which was what the mainstream media was reporting. We spoke to nurses on the ground who said, yes, it's really, really bad, and we've got bodies, 10, 12 bodies every day. They're not telling you that. So we decided to talk to the frontline workers, the firefighters, the police officers, the nurses, the doctors, sanitation, teachers. We went across the gamut to involve the community in the conversation about how they were dealing with this COVID era back in March, April, May, and we were consistent. Then we spoke about how people were dealing. We spoke about the money that was supposed to be coming from the government so people could pay their rent and their mortgages and feed their families. We've spoken about, in this edition, we spoke about education, what people are going to do in terms of going back to school, our parents comfortable to sending their kids to school. We spoke about the different angles. We spoke about the mental aspect, how people are feeling after 4 months inside at home for the most part. We spoke about how people are adhering to the mask thing, the glove thing, the 6 feet thing. We did all of that. We covered everything we could in every way that affects our community. In today's paper, we've got Sun Out, Guns Out. And we speak about the impacts of staying indoors for 4 months, the societal ills, the poverty, the policing, which has left a lot of our young people desperate and frustrated and angry. And hence this crime rate, the shootings are up by, I think we said 200%. I was in 200 shootings. I mean, just the whole idea of what this COVID plus poverty plus the usual shenanigans with the police departments, the politics of it all, how it's affecting our community. And so we never, ever missed a beat. And we just hope that we appreciate our leadership, both online and in print, who have remained loyal to us. They've looked to us for reportage. And we always go, even if the mainstream go one way, if our community sees something different, we go with what our community sees. And sometimes we go against that grain because we always have done. And when the mainstream is saying it's this way and the streets say no, it's this way, we go with, we listen to what the streets say and then we balance it. Mm-hmm. But we always include our community in the reportage, as you know. So somewhere there, we never missed a beat. We kept it moving. It's been a little bit rough and tumble, but the black media is always still on the front line, or as it should, and we have, of reporting issues that affect our community and in the ways it affects our community. Sometimes different, often different. We were hit hardest with COVID, the black and the brown, and so we reported that, and so the beat goes on.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. A lot of people definitely want to know what's going on with us. They're seeing the paper coming out. They're also viewing it online. So thank you for that. Well, we're here discussing today the event 100 Years in the Whirlwind that's taking place August 14th through 16th. Nayaba, can you please introduce our guests and so they can fill us in on what's going on with the event?
So the United Front proudly presents August 14th to the 16th, a legacy of resistance, rebellion, and revolt. It is a 3-day conference where we celebrate the flag, the red, the black, and the green, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, 100 Years in the Whirlwind. And online with us, the organizers, Bomani Mayasa. Peace, brother.
Peace, sis. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And Dr. Mahdi.
Peace.
And Aeolus. Thank you. They will be telling us about what's going on August the 14th. It is Black August, so we celebrate the culture, the history, the politics, and of course the music. And so all those elements will be covered into this wonderful conference with over 30 speakers. But Bomani, let me throw it over to you because this is your baby, if you like, and you can tell us what's going to be going on, and our folks can get involved.
Thank you, sis. I definitely appreciate you and Brother Josh for having us on and allowing us to just pretty much talk about this event, 100 Years in the Whirlwind Conference, August 14th through the 16th. It's pretty much it's a commemoration, it's a celebration of our legacy of struggle, of resistance, of nationhood. Marcus Garvey on August 13th, 1920. The first UNIA International Conference in New York, they unveiled that red, black, and green flag, which we hold dearly. And just like, you got your American patriots, and on their 4th of July, they pull out their barbecues and eat their pork ribs and shoot their little fireworks in celebration of their nation and their flag. We have our own flag in our own nation, in which we can be proud of. And we have reached in the year 2020 of the Romans. We reached 100 years. And I think, we've been tapped by the ancestors to commemorate this time because you only get one centennial, as my brother Aeolus pointed out to me. But we have 30 plus speakers from all around the African world, across the African globe, many warriors, scholars, intellects, people who are actually doing the work, a lot of educators, people like yourself. Thank you, Sister Nayaba, for being a part of this event and bringing your talent and to the table. Definitely appreciate you. We have. I'll let Aeolus give you the specifics, but we have plenty speakers from all around the world that's going to give you information that's going to help us move forward for the next 100 years.
Can I ask you real quick, for those who might not know the full fact of why the red, black, and green flag? What does it mean? What does it signify? What does it mean now?
Well, for me, I have my own. I look at the world through the context of war. Like Africans, I believe we are at war, and we've been at war since we touched the shores of North America. And so when I look at that red, black, and green, that red signifies the blood that the black man's going to have to decide whether we're going, is it worth shedding our blood or the blood of our enemies. That black is race of the most noblest people on earth in which our enemies should fear. And that green is the land and the earth which we must liberate from our enemies. So I look at that red, black, and green. Not only is it a flag that represents our nation, but it represents our struggle and the things we must do. And it unifies, to me, it's a war banner. We at war right now.
When
and
you say
we also at war for the minds of our people. Yeah.
When you say we're at war, are you talking about in the cities, in the nation, in the globe? When you say that, what do you mean? For those who may not know.
Well, there's many fronts to a war. When people hear war, they automatically go to the physical gun violence and the bombs and the death and destruction. And I'm not excluding that, but that's not specifically what I'm speaking to, because we also at war for the hearts and minds of our people. Like we lack a knowledge of self. We lack a political education. Like we're not thinking as a nation should. So we got to have certain institutions in place as a nation that we know we're going to meet up, that we're going to get resistance to. Like every time we try to do things for ourselves, we get resistance from our enemies. That's an act of war. So we're constantly at war. We at war for our own, to try to educate our own children. And that's what this conference is about. Because we have educators like Marcus Klein. We have Baba Mwalimu Baruti and his queen, Mama Ya Baruti, who have been educating African youth for over 20 years. They're warriors.
Right. So
everybody plays a part.
Can you speak to some of the aspects of the conference? You said education. What are some of the other, the 30 speakers you say? So what would they be touching upon? What areas can people enjoy and learn from and be informed about?
I'll let my brother Aeolus speak on that, if he doesn't mind.
Aeolus?
Peace, Sister Nayaba. Again, thank you for having us on. This is a momentous occasion to be in a place that housed the ideas of W.B. Du Bois, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., and, of course, Malcolm X. So the specifics of the conference are laid out like this. Like you just mentioned, you said with the pandemic that's going on, one of the major concerns of African people is what are we going to do with our children when it comes to sending them back to school and them being educated. Everyone is kind of leery about sending our babies to a situation that could end up in their death, their, sickness and, loss of life. So the main focus outside of honoring the red, black, and green flag is resistance education. Resistance to what? Like I just mentioned, and like you mentioned, resistance to the pandemic, resistance to miseducation, diseducation. But to even extend that, because like Brother Bomani said, we're at war on all fronts. We have speakers coming in talking about imagery and how imagery plays a part in creating our consciousness. And when we don't have the right images placed in front of us, it could give us a sense of inferiority, and we can't reach our fullest potential because we begin to embody those images like the Uncle Bens and the Aunt Jemimas and the things that we play with that we're going to move. So we're going to have conferences on that. We're going to have conferences on relationships and love and how we need to engage each other and our compliments, how in this matrix, in this culture matrix that is foreign to us. We're going to talk about spirituality and how spirituality is key in our lives, is a key component in our consciousness as we try our best to re-Africanize ourselves and return home. So we're trying our best to make sure that we have all fronts covered. We're going to talk about politics, every area of people activity, whether it's education, entertainment, politics, economics, sex, labor, war, religion. We're trying our best to make sure we have those covered from an African-centered perspective so that we understand that we're speaking specifically to us so that we can try our best to actualize our truest human or African potential for the next 100 years.
Dr. Mahdi, what would you say to somebody who has no idea about any of this, very, very much entrenched in society as it is, mainstream society? There was nothing about the red, black, and the green. There was nothing about Marcus Messiah Garvey. There's nothing about United Front or Kwanzaa even, or Nzuko Saba. There's nothing about any of that. There's proper white bread, European-minded somebody. How do they, why would they tap onto this thing and say, let me go spend my weekend learning about the red, the black, and the green? What would you tell them, Dr. Mahdi?
I
I would offer a different perspective than what mainstream media is feeding. I think that when we look at what's been happening in the last couple of months concerning Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and just countless others, we find that the recurring response of we're sick and tired, but we just never seem to get sick and tired enough to actually go beyond protesting or taking action that'll be tangible in us progressing and moving forward. So I would say that this is another option. This is an alternative to give more solutions to what can be done outside of just protesting. And besides that, more of a cultural background and base. A lot of times we just hear the word black being thrown around, calling ourselves black or whatever. And I think, in this space that we're in, it also allows you to enrich exactly what blackness means and, get a little bit more information, a little bit more backing into what it is when you say that you're black or, that type of thing. You have more to go on. And, that's the most important thing for me is knowing who you are and just having more options.
Anyone who's resistant to that thought process, to delving deep into their own selves and asking themselves those questions, would you say this would be the event that they should attend and challenge themselves to look at themselves differently and not be afraid to examine what they've been taught, what they've lived, and look at things in a different way? Is this a 3-day conference for that possibility, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think that, our people have to understand that we've collected a group of African warriors who are working on behalf of black people specifically. Now, you may not, feel the same way, politically or look at the world the same way we do. But if you have people who are dedicated to your, to work for your benefit, to educate your children, to really address real problems that's happening in your community, and they putting you first, you should at least want to hear what they have to say.
Mm.
And if I may chime in, I think speaking in terms of power, it's culture which inoculates from genocide. Every other people on the planet Earth.
Now say that again, please. Say that again. Say it line one more time. That line you just.
It is culture. Well, this is Mama. I remember Ani's line, and she said that it is culture that inoculates from genocide, and all of the people have institutions that speak specifically to them. If you look at Jewish people, they have yeshiva. If you look at the Catholics, they have Notre Dame. If you look at the Mormons, they have Brigham Young. African people, if we really want to talk about gaining power, learning how to handle power, and actually having power to become self-determining, and someday, attain sovereign liberation, we have to have things that are distinctly ours so that we can begin to institutionalize our generational or intergenerational knowledge, wisdom, and understanding in the world in which we live to our children and the yet unborn. This is one of those events where we begin the generating process to put that in the conscience of people that, okay, this is what we have to do. This is how we, pass this information from the next generation to the next. And then we understand that, okay, the times when we didn't win, we learned. Now we can better ourselves. Now we can move further. Now we can make gains for ourselves. And that's how we truly become a powerful people globally.
Is the time right now with this new... Okay, let me ask you a question. I'm almost hesitant to say it, but with the Black Lives Matter movement, give me your thoughts, please, on how you feel, what you feel about that, the whole thing. Bomani.
Well, for me... Oh, okay, wonderful.
Okay, no, this is my
Black Lives Matter. Well, I have a lot of questions. Like, who are they? Where did they come from? And but my personal opinion is that their views and their values and things that they're fighting for don't align with mine. I believe we don't have the same interests. I also believe we've seen this play ran before. I believe Malcolm called it the farce on Washington. Where they put people in front of the movement and they become the movement. I've never seen a quote unquote black organization dispraised, this promoted on the media ever since I've been alive. I don't think there's been a black organization, quote unquote, and I put quote unquote black organization, that has been this popular. They have become pop culture. Everybody's wearing the Black Lives Matter T-shirt, and I know that revolution is not pop culture. When you disrupt, the system and you agitate, they usually buck at you. They don't really want to hold hands with you and make nice with you. So that's just what I've seen. That's just what I've observed throughout history. So their interests don't align with mine, and Black Lives Matter, in my opinion, don't have the best interests of black people.
Brothers, your thoughts?
I would agree as well. I've had questions for a long time, but when the brother George Floyd was murdered by the police, and there was this mass mobilization worldwide under the banner of Black Lives Matter in under 7 days. That really set off like an alarm in me that they cannot possibly be for our good and interest.
What if somebody said, yeah, but it was such an outrageous murder on camera that people were just outraged across the world. It was an organic feeling, and people just attacked themselves. You'd say what?
Well, I would say that that's not true, because Philando Castile was murdered on camera, and Black Lives Matter was around then. So, there's a lot of factors that people can say contributed to this newfound outrage. But as Bomani said, all of us on this phone here are students of history, and we can pinpoint times where there's been moments like this before. Not exactly the same, because obviously they didn't have cell phones then, and certain things to their advantage. But when you really break down the events and the way that certain things are being handled, it's the same play being ran, just a little different. And Black Lives Matter. I really don't really see from what I've looked up and read about them. There's going to be a few concessions that we're going to be given, but ultimately it's not going to be anything to give us power. Like right now, folks are celebrating statues being torn down of slave owners and figures of oppression across the country and across the world. And I'm a little concerned about that, because, if we're still allowing our children to be educated by Europeans, if we're still allowing our children to be educated by our enemies, then we also potentially allow our children to be lied to even more, because under the guise of removing figures of oppression, we're also potentially opening a space where the narrative can be changed to their benefit if we're not keeping the focus on who they are. So it's a very dangerous game, very dangerous.
So what would be the way forward now in terms of this we're in a space now where everybody's, I hate this term woke, but everybody's in commas woke and open to a conversation about what's going on with black folks historically and currently and all of that. Where does this conference fit into that narrative? What happens as people say, you know what, I heard about this thing and it sounds great and I want to go and all of that. Is there a space for that mindset to come in, listen, learn, and maybe get an additional perspective, considering that everybody now is in the space of wanting to learn and wanting to know? in quotes. Say, this is the conference for you. You're gonna learn some things. Mahdi?
Yes, definitely. It's definitely the place because, it's not going to be a bunch of speakers speaking on the same thing or trying to drill one idea into your mind. I mean, you're going to be able to listen to different speakers who basically have the same objective but have different ways of going about the objective. Like Brother Aeolus said, one of the things is that we're focusing on educating our youth. We're also commemorating and celebrating those Africans who put their lives on the line to bring us self-determination and just to strengthen the power to do for self, which has always been the challenge and which has always been disrupted for as long as we've been fighting. And this event is most definitely the place for that. Just to like I said, just ideas that you never heard before, things that you didn't even know existed. It's gonna be at this event.
And will there be a place for expansion after the 3 days? Will people be able to stay in touch with the organizers, with the different speakers? Will they be able to move forward? Will there be workshops? Will they be, something that follows this so we can continue the conversation and people might be enlightened beyond belief and say, what, I love that idea. I've never heard that idea before, but I need more. Are you organizing to make sure that people can stay in touch with the different speakers and the different elements? So you can keep this conversation in flow?
Yes, ma'am. One of the things that we hope that comes out of this is the rudimentary understanding that we need a social theory to be successful as African people globally. And one of the things that we keep saying also is that we're not trying to allow this to be just a moment, a flicker in history. Right. We want the moment to live in us. So when we move away from this event, which is momentous, is all out because it is a one-on-one. What our goal is, all the brothers on the line, is to create a house of life, which was a term that I got from Aikwe Arma, one of the greatest writers. I believe he's housed in Senegal now, but he's from Ghana. And the house of life, he says, was how the schools were along the Nile Valley back in ancient Kemet. And in that, the students went there, they gained knowledge, and what they would do is they would share it with the people so they can live their best lives. It was collective work. So they studied the stars. They studied, the movement of the Nile Valley so they could know how to move their houses, according to the inundation of the Nile, so on and so forth. So what we want to be is we want to be the sharers. We want to create this house of life, maybe a virtual place where everybody can continue to do what they're doing, which will be on full display at the conference, but where African people can come when they need resources, when they need tools, when they need to get skills, and you don't have to search all over the place. So we are using this as the spearhead, as to coin my brothers, the vanguard of the beginning of a social theory that African people use so that we can be successful. Because just like Dr. Mahdi just said, history is best qualified toward our research. And one of the things that has always been missing in any movement that African people have tried to, begin is a social theory. Because a social theory teaches us how to relate one to the other. It's okay, if other people claim they want to help. But any people that are serious about themselves, they have to close ranks first. They have to love. They have to understand how to care for. They have to understand that they're most important. And once they build that inner strength, then they can go out into the greater world and be great and be the light and the civilization bearers to other people. But I think that's the thing that African people have to do, and I think that is the thing that can come, that is going to come from the 100 years in the Whirlwind Conference.
So, Josh, did you have anything you wanted to ask?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. One of the things I did want to ask is that right now there was a mention about Black Lives Matter being a movement right now. Everybody's coming on the bandwagon. That movement in general is made up of a lot of young people who just don't know some things. And I think that this would be most beneficial to people who are just now starting to wake up and realize just how things are. What impact do you want to have on young people and how they're receiving this information and getting them engaged? How do you want them to receive this?
Well, we hope they receive it well. We hope that, I think a lot of times when people hear people like myself and the brothers on the line, they picture us as some type of wild-eyed black national radicals, as opposed to understanding that, no, we're just sincerely in love with African people. It's not about hate. It's about, first and foremost, love, because you can't build from hate, but you can build through love. So we hope that as, we create these events and we do the work of organizing these things, the people who come, especially the younger Africans, they come to these events and understanding that we're extending this information of love so we can grow as an African family first and foremost.
I think that
yeah. Part of it is, I think that what's important is that, see, a lot of times, we you can study information, but if your information is not put towards a particular goal, you can go out there and be quote unquote woke in today's times and be out there protesting and marching and doing whatever. But at the end of the day, what is the goal? When you come to the 100 Years in the Whirlwind Conference, young people are going to be able to hear what the goal is for our people. Some ideas of what we can be as a nation, what we can accomplish as a nation. And I think a lot of times our youth don't even hear these ideas about that we can actually be a nation, be self-sufficient and sustain ourselves as a people. We are great enough to do that. And a lot of us, I think a lot of our youth are politically miseducated because, working in the interest of people who don't have your best interest is working politically backwards. So come and get some information and hear what Garvey gave us. We have a flag for a reason because we are a nation, and a nation should be sovereign and self-determined. Let's hear what the goals are. What are we trying to accomplish as a nation? Rather than just trying to reform certain laws, what are we trying to do for ourselves?
So it's funny because, you speak about the 100 Years in the Whirlwind. Marcus Garvey gave us the blueprint. He did it. He had the Black Star Line. He had the newspaper, Negro World. He was persecuted because of his stance in terms of being a Pan-Africanist and a black nationalist. He traveled the world. He set up systems where we could be self-sufficient. We are not reinventing the wheel here. So as part of the conference, will there be an element where you speak on Garvey's goals and achievements and how ultimately he was treated and how he overcame the subjugation?
Yes, ma'am. Our last keynote speaker, Baba Walimu Baruti, he's going to give a whole lecture or workshop on the axioms of Garvey, and he's going to tell us, the go over the axioms of race first, like you said, self-sufficiency, so on and so forth. And he's going to make it plain in a manner that if you have not ever been introduced to the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, he'll make it plain. He'll present it in a way that you can leave with the knowledge of one of our greatest examples. Because just like you said, we're not trying to invent the wheel. That would be ridiculous because we stand on the shoulders of giants. And a lot of times what we're trying to do is just let you know, or let our youth know, let the rest of the family know that, hey, we have to identify the shoulders in which we stand on. So yes, ma'am, we have a time dedicated specifically to him. In fact, Baba Baruti will be speaking on 8/16, 7 to 8:30. Again, that's 8/16, that's Sunday, 7 to 8:30. And all of that time will be dedicated to the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
So I'm a strong believer in, back in the 60s, there was a soundtrack to the movement. So you had people like Nina Simone and even James Brown, Sam Cooke, Curtis Mayfield, who sang songs which spoke to the time. Do we have that now? Not so much, but there are artists like yourself. Let us talk, please, Bomani, about United Front and African Insurrection music. Tell the people what it is, who it is, and what y'all are about.
Vanguard United Front. We're a collection of revolutionary artists. You know, we followed the orders of the Honorable Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, peace be upon him. He said, if you're going to be a rapper, be a revolutionary rapper. And, you know, we heeded the call, and we've been doing it consistently for almost 20 years now. We've put out projects, United We Stand, Volume 1. We put out 50 Shots Back in 2007. You know, that actually, you was on that project, I believe, Sister Nayaba. I believe you actually had the voice on that, wasn't it? We had the Councilman Charles Barron. Yeah, we had the Councilman Charles Barron as well on that project. He supported that project. We put out Black Power Manhood Rap, Cypher Complete. We put out a number of different projects just speaking to the warriors in the movement. I've been politically active. I work with a lot of different organizations, you know, some that you're familiar with that I'm not going to mention, but you know, I put in my time, as they say, and I know that the soundtrack was needed, and my brothers and myself had the talent to provide that, you know, to those who are out there consistently doing the work. And on August 14th, we will be releasing a new project by my brother Doc Mahdi and my brother University Avenue called Harriet Shotgun, which is I think my brother Doc Mahdi can really speak to that project and what it speaks to and what's it all about.
The Harriet Shotgun project coming out on August 14th is it's also a commemoration. It's a tribute, an honor to not just Mama Harriet Tubman specifically, but just to the women warriors, you know, throughout our timeline that have put in as much work, if not more work, than her male counterpart. So we just wanted to provide a soundtrack that's strong, but also, you know, honors our mothers, honors our grandmothers, and just the female warrior spirit, and just bringing balance back to the equation, because lately, you know, the dialogue has been who's more oppressed, the black woman being the most unprotected person on the planet.
Yeah.
And a lot of those discussions come up, and as men who stand with and stand for black women, we wanted to put out something there that our sisters will be proud of, but also, you know, just to let them know, like, you know, you're not alone and you're not fighting alone. You know, there's brothers that's right there with you, that's supporting you. And you know, this is what this project stands for, first and foremost.
All right.
Just to, you know, bring balance back.
Josh, you want to?
Yes.
Sorry?
May I chime in for a second as a fan?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, first time I heard this brother probably about 2011, 2012. First time I heard him, I'm like, who are these strikingly upright black men? As a husband, a father, a grandson, I'm like, yo, I can listen to these brothers any place and not cringe. They made sure that the usage of curse words was at like a minimum, maybe 1%. The N-word was out of it. There was no disrespect, like Doc Mahdi just said, of any black women. So when I immediately became a fan, fell in love with them, and I'm probably the biggest fan because they are so right and exact in their political statements, because every track is a political statement. Every album is a complete political statement. And it's clear that they care, they sincerely care and love African people, because they've taken the time to make sure that, like I told Brother Bomani when I first met him, I can listen to each and every album with my children in the car or my grandmother, and we can ride for hours and hours and not, feel unclean, at the end of that trip. So, I just want to publicly say, brothers, keep doing what you're doing, because you have a fan base that you may not know about, but you are sincerely appreciated, and the work is much, much needed. So I'm glad that you made an observation, and you understood you had an obligation, and you heeded the call.
That's beautiful.
It is wonderful.
I used to play you guys when I lived in Harlem, full disclosure, and I would play your album, and the guys on the corner would be like, "Yo, sis, we heard it, we got it." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, you're going to hear it again because you need it. You've been slinging all day. Hear it again." And I would play it to the point where they'd know the tracks, which was the point. And so I think it's important when you have music which is powerful, like the brother said, there's no cursing in it. You can play it for your kids, to your grandmother. Nobody's going to say, "Turn that noise off." And you learn as you listen. Plus, the beats are nice. So we appreciate the message in the music at all times. 100 Years in the Whirlwind will feature over 20 of the world's most sincere, world-renowned African-centered scholars, their analysis and proven solutions, with over 30 far-reaching master-level course lectures, tons of educational resources, Africanly awesome virtual vendors, and United Front African intellectual music providing the revolutionary soundtrack over the course of the conference. This experience will inspire our legitimate right to resist. That's powerful, y'all.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well,
thank you for your dedication.
Thank you. And I just want to, if someone can just say the best way to get the information. I know there's a website out there, and so people can register. I think we definitely need to end with that to let people know how they can be part of this, because I know it's being done virtually. Whoever wants to say, please put it out there.
Yes, feel free to visit www.dtc1.org. That is www.D as in David, T as in Thomas, C as in Charles, the number 1.org. If you scroll down, we have a purchase button right there at the bottom. If you want to keep in contact or just keep up with information that's going on with the 100 Years in the Whirlwind, we're at 100 Years in the Whirlwind at IG. We also at 100 Years in the Whirlwind on our Facebook page. If you need to reach us for any questions you may have about the conference, at gmail.com. And hey, get caught up.
All right.
In 100 Years in the Whirlwind.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Well, listen, thank you so much. Oh, go ahead. Yes,
also,
quickly.
You get United Front Music. I'm sorry, real quick. You can get United Front's music at www.ufasafo.com. That's UFASAFO.com. We have some promo shirts for the Harry Shotgun Project, Harry with a Shotgun shirts. We also have the 100-year RBG Centennial T-shirts for sale on the site, and that comes with a pre-order of the album.
All right. Well, wonderful. Well, listen, thank you everybody so much for coming on this week's episode. Nayaba, thank you so much as well for being on the episode. We'll definitely be having you back. And I would love to do a follow-up about this to see how the conference went and what the results were and what the feedback was. So we'll definitely be having you all back. Thank you again so much.
Can I just say real quick, just before we go?
Sure.
My section will be, Bomani, help me. August the 15th, 6 to 8 o'clock. Is that correct? Bomani?
Yes,
I think that's my time. August 15th.
Yes, ma'am. Your Saturday, August 15th, 6 to 8.
Okay.
Activate.
With special guests. Right. Okay. So I thank you for the opportunity. And this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for the information and Anna for the dedication. Joshua, thank you. Appreciate you.
Certainly.
Let's roll out.
All right. Well, thank you again so much for being on, everybody, and we definitely look forward to having you back.
Peace.
Thank you, brother. Peace. Thanks, all.
That concludes this week's podcast. You can pick up the latest edition of the New York Amsterdam News on newsstands and get updates online at amsterdamnews.com. You can also keep up with us on Facebook at NY Amsterdam News and follow us on Twitter at NYAmNews. I'm Cyril Josh Barker. Thanks for listening.
Hi, my name is Eleanor Tatum, and I'm the publisher and editor-in-chief of the New York Amsterdam News. The coronavirus crisis has brought serious distress to local economies and advertising along with them. The New York Amsterdam News has partnered with the Local Media Association during this unprecedented crisis. Help us continue our important work in chronicling the life of Black New Yorkers, and consider making a donation to the COVID-19 Local News Fund today. Go to givebutter.com/Amsterdam News. Again, that is GIVEBUTTER.com/Amsterdam News. Thank you and stay safe.